Welcome to the Badger 247 show. I'm Matt Perkins, joined by Badger 247 writers John McNamara and Nick Osen. It's great to see both you guys again today.
Virgo, always great to see you. Happy Friday, fellas.
Happy Friday indeed. We hope that you guys are making sure you are subscribing to Badger 247 right now, because there is more information, more great discussion boards, and just more great discussions happening than you can shake a stick at over there in the camp, Nick. I know we've got a special offer going out to people who are joining right now.
Yeah, Perko, I really appreciate the tee up, my friend. Always got a smile on my face. I'm a little tired, and this is going to be part of this promo here. We're grinding late at night. We're up working on this site. So basically, with the promo right now, we've got 60% off, or with the great John McNamara on and some news with him, you can get 75% off. Now, I got to be honest, guys, and this is really intentional to people watching, especially if they are newer to some of my work. I'm not the best at pumping, hey, these are our promos. I really just love to kind of put my head down and get some of this work out, guys. But really, I can speak for myself. All I really care about is, one of the four leaders of this site is really just this job and my family, quite honestly. I haven't taken an off day in nearly 3 years. Got to work on that a little bit. But John, Evan, they've been doing this for much longer than me with their expertise. We have a rising star in Payne Blazevich, who does a lot of our team coverage. Guys, we are locked in every day. There are a lot of other things out there, but if you're big into football recruiting, basketball recruiting, team coverage, a Badgers community, you're in a spot where you can take a look and afford it, guys. I wouldn't sell something I didn't believe in. So it is truly worth it. The content has been out of this world this week, and nationally, we've been getting some buzz as well, John.
Yeah, I mean, the timing probably couldn't have worked out any better. And, like Nick said, Perko, you know me a little bit better, but I don't like to come on and, sell. I think Nick and I and Payne and Evan are more just like, hey, let us prove it to you. Just pop on the board, and, it's going to take you a while to get through the content. It's going to get you a while to take to walk through those threads, but let us earn your business. Like, give us a shot. Let us earn your business this month. There's no better time. That big OV weekend just wrapped up, but there's going to be 2 more. There's going to be some high school camps. There's going to be the Bucky's barbecue that Nick's already added some names to. Wisconsin Advanced Camp. Like, that's a fun one. I mean, June. Squad Fest. If you're into that type of stuff, that madness, I don't know, you might have a seizure down in there with those lights and the strobes and everything.
Going to Squad Fest was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life. Like when Bernie and I got to go to Squad Fest 2 years ago, and I don't know if we've had more fun just getting juiced up around all the guys. Like, I wanted to get in on the squat rack, and then I remembered I have way too many back problems to do that. But it is that's one heck of an event. I know it's actually something that's pretty. People are hot or cold on it. Some people really don't like Squad Fest, but guess what? It's not for you. It's for the players, and they eat that stuff up.
Right. Yes. I mean, just couldn't be a better time. And again, like Nick said, John gets you 75. You pump in that code. And like I said, let us earn your business. Let our product speak for itself. So let's get to the good stuff. I don't want to talk about selling subscriptions.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have that promo code here in the episode description as well. John gets you 75. It's JON because he spells it the cool way. But we're going to get into some commitments from this past weekend. Let's start, John, with the guy we kind of all expected to commit, and that is linebacker Ben Wenzel out of Appleton. He's a guy who's been on the Badgers board and shooting up a lot of boards for, especially during the spring. But John, no surprises here. What does it mean for the linebacker class moving forward? Do you think they're done with him and Reeder, or are we going to see, maybe a third guy taken here in the 2026 cycle?
Yeah, never say never, right, in the world of recruiting, but that's likely what that inside linebacker class is going to look like. Wenzel more of the traditional linebacker that they're looking for. Reeder gets you a little bit more versatility there. I like that class quite a bit. I think the more you watch the Wenzel tape, the more you like him. I don't know if you can quantify exactly what in-state guys mean to this class or the program or the locker room, but look, you got to get those guys every time they're available. Obviously, like we've talked about before, Oklahoma made a pretty strong run at him. Kansas, Michigan State were there. So I think these are the type of battles Wisconsin has to win. It's kind of similar to a Cooper Catalano from that 25 class. Not, similar schools involved. Obviously, Cooper didn't have that Oklahoma, but getting those kids inside that locker room, those in-state kids, letting them develop, especially in this era, especially with Wisconsin's trying to do. I just think it's really important, really valuable. And I mean, and he's a really good football player too. I don't want to make it just seem like that's at in-state guys just to add in-state guys. He earned that, and the guys that they canceled officials with, TJ White, like he's a big-time national prospect. They said like we're going to make room for Wenzel here. Mason Martin, who had been up twice in the spring, it looked like things were kind of trending with him, but overall, this coaching staff wanted Wenzel, and I'll end with, and I posted this too. Tuck Borland, assistant inside linebackers coach. It really seems like they've given him a platform to go recruit, and this is pretty nice returns for, I would say, his first true recruiting cycle, being out there, getting on the road, extending offers, and closing on some of these guys.
Nick, let's move to the defensive line where Wisconsin added two interesting pieces in Arthur Scott and DJ Baugh. How do you see these two guys fitting in Tressel's system under Coach Whitlow? Do you see them sort of being redundant with each other, or what position do you see them filling on the defensive line?
Yeah, Perko, two good ads. And I think that leading into our show last week, like we all felt pretty good about Arthur Scott becoming a Badger. I had predicted, Bob maybe eventually, right? But to lock him up before taking some of these, honestly, good competition OBs, including like an Iowa in there, who does a nice job with D linemen. Really great job from the staff. Multiple guys on there, just worth noting there. Scott, I think, is a great fit. I think he'll be more of kind of a take your time developmental type piece on the interior. Guys, I think if DJ Baugh hits, and he's played inside and outside for his school, Germantown in Tennessee. But if he hits on more of that outside kind of long, rangy potential, I believe he's got an NFL type ceiling. I really love the addition. A late offer, but somebody the Badgers were interested in for a while. They had hoped to get him up in the spring, with just a scheduling thing. The fact he came first weekend. And yeah, from my understanding, I'll actually have another content piece with some people close with him, but just shutting things down already. Like with that list, really, really good. I like him, Perko. I just want to say, love what Max said about Wenzel. I just like to note kind of my stance on the in-state thing. You don't take guys in this day and age just because they're in-state, right? Kind of like John said. But when you can have those culture pieces and they're damn good football players, you need to close. And I think they did a great job. I mean, John, we're obviously a little newer to talking football together. I couldn't be higher on what I saw from Catalano this spring. And when those guys can be reliable voices in the locker room too, guys are going to bleed red and white, I think it's really good.
Yeah, and on top of that, John, I think that what's really interesting to me is that historically, what has Wisconsin gotten from in-state guys? Offensive linemen, offensive linemen, offensive linemen. Now it's linebackers, man. You look at Catalano, Gauthier, and now Wenzel. Wisconsin in some ways has become linebacker U. In the past decade, how many linebackers has Wisconsin put in the pros, both outside and inside? I mean, it's got to be at least a dozen here in the last 10 years. And the shift to having some of these in-state guys come in, I think a lot of it started with Leo Chenal, as one of he was a game breaker, obviously came in, contributed as a freshman, then blew up as a sophomore and junior. But I think these in-state linebackers play a certain style and with a certain grit. I mean, Catalano, I think, is the epitome of this, but I do think Wenzel plays the same way. I think Gauthier played the same way as well. Guys who are hard-nosed, downhill, but still very athletic. I think that is definitely what Tressel's looking for at that linebacker position, and to be able to get that as in-state guys, I think says a lot, especially with what they need from a leadership perspective, like you said, Nick, here. So, but I want to move, towards this coming weekend. We have a lot of interesting people coming to campus, Nick, but I think the most interesting name might be one that popped either late last night or very early this morning, Nick.
Yeah, Perko, absolutely. So we're going to get into some official visitors, but an unofficial visit for, I think we would all probably agree, not just the top running back target, but maybe the top target in the entire class for the Badgers. If you're watching and listening to this right now, this has been out. We teased it on our wonderful site at around 12:30 a.m. last night, just to kind of get people ready. Amari Latimer is back on campus this weekend for an unofficial. Other schools, it's not just, they're listed on the profiles, they've been in the mix. Other schools like Michigan, like Georgia, like Tennessee have been trying to get this superstar back on their campuses. He said no thank you this weekend. He's back in Madison with the Badgers. I know that we have felt very good about where Wisconsin has stood, but just the fact he's coming up here again, it's not an official. He can see his older brother, be around other guys that the Badgers are interested. Of course, there are some commits here this weekend, like Novak, Cochran, Reeder, the current team. Like, let's give some credit, right? Awesome to see for Latimer, and a great job by the staff as well to put this together. So it'll certainly be interesting to track, but I know that John and I feel pretty encouraged about the Badgers' chances going forward for this player that, I'll be honest, I love 247 in our rating system. He needs to be a 4-star on ours by this fall as well.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of the stuff Nick said. The perspective I'll add here is, I remember hearing about Latimer from some guys well over a year ago. And I think when I started to write about him, it was like, hey, this is the home run, knock it out of the park type guy. I mean, this was writing stuff a year ago at this time. He was on a couple visit lists, and those visits kind of, they didn't connect for whatever reason. But for Wisconsin to be in the position where they are with him right now, I mean, really, you could argue that he was their top running back target dating back 12 months ago, 18 months ago. And for this to kind of come full circle now, we still got to make sure that everything kind of moves in the direction people think it's going to be. But you're talking now probably one of the better wins under Luke Fickell. And then is this one of the better wins, in the last 10, 15, 20 years? I mean, like you said, Nick, from where I came from, we had him as a 4-star kid. I think he'll probably get there. Talking to these 24/7 guys, they're sharp. They know what they're doing. So I guess I would just add a little patience there to see where he kind of ends up. But you look at the offer list, Michigan, or
Georgia,
it's just kind of
it's Miami,
right. And I mean, these are schools that have been on for a pretty long time too. So exciting for Wisconsin to get them back here. That's uncommon, right? For a guy to OV and then unofficial in back-to-back weekends. And obviously his situation is a little bit unique too. Get to be around the brother again and get his family up around his the brothers. So we'll see. But very positive. And hey, sometimes you just find out stuff on Badger 24/7 if you're on staff. That's news I woke up to. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm glad I got a membership.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the Wisconsin also landed 2 tight ends this past week. We're going to call them Jack times 2 or Jack squared, whatever you want to call them. We're going to be talking about these two in tandem moving forward a lot. And it's not just because they're both named Jack. But John, despite similar names, they have very different games at the tight end position. How do you see these two guys fitting with Grimes' system? Let's go with Sievers first. I think he was the first he committed. Did he commit before Janda? I don't remember. It's all kind of a blur in the last week. So let's talk Sievers first, John. To me, he seems like more of an H-back type, but what do you see in him? I know you're pretty high on Sievers.
Yeah, I think the speed stands out to me right away with Sievers. And then the second piece is, like we talked about Oklahoma, with Wenzel, Oklahoma was pushing to get him on campus for an OV too. So credit the staff for getting him locked up. I think that spring visit, and Nick, you could probably talk to that too. When he got on campus in the spring, I mean, that really accelerated things. I know Nate Letton went out there during the live period, spent a lot of time with him as well. So Wisconsin's been trending for a while now. Going in, I kind of felt that he would probably get things done. But like I said, Oklahoma was very much there. I think it's kind of a change of philosophy, or maybe the way I'm trying to think about the tight end position now of, you look at the maybe the last couple classes, try to get an H-back and then try to get an inline guy. I think more of these guys under this Jeff Grimes system of, I'm going to need you to do both. I'm going to need you to block, and I'm going to need you to catch passes too. And that kind of goes back to the type of offense that maybe Wisconsin fans have grown up with. So I think that's probably a welcome change for the fans. We'll see how it looks on the field this year, but I don't really want to lock these guys into Sievers as the H-back, Janda's the inline guy. I think they want those guys to be multiple, and the quotes that they've given, us on the site here has been that, they want me to do this, they want me to do this, and this is why I'm a good fit here. So it's more of, can you be that Jake Ferguson type, put your hand in the gun, block when we need to, go and catch balls when we need you to, and I think that's going to be what the position is moving forward on the recruiting front.
Nick, do you think that Sievers can add the requisite weight that he's going to need? Because what's he right now? 215, 220 maybe? Like, I think he's going to need to get up to 240. Is he going to be able to do that and keep that speed?
Yeah, Perko, I think without question. So I spoke with both Jacks. We were able to get quotes like John said. I will note, for some that maybe haven't read it, they call themselves the Jack Attacks. They said over the weekend, which is just kind of fun. So I think that'll be cool to kind of track together. Hopefully that follows. But I'll be honest, Perko, I'm a huge fan of Seaver's potential. He told me that right now he is just over 6'4" and 231 pounds. So, and he's still running at 4.48. So that is why I know we were texting and kind of doing some preview stuff. Like, I love what John just said about kind of the breakdown with positions, because I believe that to be very accurate from, how Grimes would speak of his tight ends in the future, as well as just what these guys are saying. I think if he can get to between 238 and 242 and still keep that around a 4.5, like, you're looking at a playmaker, Perko. You've got to be creative, right, where he's maybe going to line up, like how you're going to get him the ball at times, just because he'll have to grow in terms of blocking a, 6'6", 270-pound guy on the outside if he's going to be chipping and things of that nature. But no, I love it. And then for Janda, you look at his offer list, guy. It's like there's Oregon on there from early on. There's Kentucky. There's Illinois, who has been pushing. Stanford has been pushing. And some other really good schools, like Mac mentioned about Sievers, too, with Oklahoma. These were good. I think we both felt good about both guys. I thought Sievers would probably call it that first weekend. But just in terms to lock them both up already, to wrap up a class, and for Nate Letton to be able to then transition, and I know John will love this, to guys like Kors Loken in 2027 and some of the big-time Midwest tight ends, like, you're in a nice spot right now.
Definitely in a nice spot right now. At the tight end position, especially that's not produced very much on the field in the past couple seasons. So there definitely needs some guys to step up. I've always been someone who's really high in Grant Stack, and I'm hoping that he can really break the lineup this year, because I think you talk about a guy who can do both, who can block and catch the ball. I think he is the highest upside of anyone in that room right now to be able to do both. We'll see how it progresses on the field this fall in that new system. But let's move to the official visitors who are coming this weekend. We already talked Latimer, but there are 4 guys coming in this weekend on officials. Got cornerback Chase Geeter out of Virginia, Zachary Taylor, who we talked about last week out of Katy, Texas, who bumped his official back 1 week. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, I'd recommend going back to our show last week. We talked a lot about Zachary Taylor, but let's 2 more guys. We've got Jamyan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Jamyan Theodore out of Chattanooga, my home state in Tennessee, and Jelayne Miller out of Arizona, offensive lineman, all coming in. So, John, I guess let's start here with Miller. I want to start with the offensive lineman, because I'm an offensive lineman guy. If you've been listening to anything I've done in the past 5 years around Badger media, I will talk about offensive linemen all day and all night. And John, to me, Miller is a really, really interesting guy who has a huge athletic upside.
Yeah, the versatility I think sticks out right away. I think he could play center if you wanted him to. He could play guard. He could play tackle. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway I have with him. Wisconsin's looking for that third lineman, right? And we've talked, could he get to 4? I feel like 3, might be 4 if it's the perfect combination. But, in terms of guys, you got Maddox Cochran is going to be up this week, and he's a tackle. Ben Novak, long-time commit, likely a guard. So bringing someone in like Miller with that versatility, I think, obviously he's why one of the, more heavily recruited kids out on that West Coast there. He's made it through some officials without committing. So now Wisconsin's getting its opportunity there. First visit there. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot to take in, a lot to process, then a lot to kind of digest once things wrap up here. So, and again, like you talked about, Perko, an athletic lineman. You pop on that film, I think that's a takeaway as well. So obviously would be a great fit, a good way for Wisconsin to close here, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, first visit, so it's going to be a lot for him to take and digest and kind of go through this weekend.
Perko, if I can just add a little bit, I know there are a couple other players we went in depth on Zach Taylor, obviously, last week, but John, I love that breakdown. I think with Miller, 2 things: versatility, like you said, and what I've been writing, and I think our colleague Evan Flood has written about this a long time too. Like, I'm sure you've spoken with Jelani, John. I just spoke with him for one more preview for our site this week. Like, feels like a Badger, a hell of a player, but he really, a lot of people might just say it. He really, really cares about academics. Engineering is huge for him. Mechanical engineering, which is a terrific program here in Madison at the university. So I do think that'll help. He got through a couple of OBs. USC is still on the schedule, John, and we know, they're obviously tracking for an insane class right now, but they have a lot of guys on the O-line right now. From my understanding, just checking in around this recruitment a little bit, obviously speaking with him, but just some other people around the network. Look, I think that the Auburn Tigers and the Wisconsin Badgers are kind of vying for a top spot right now. And this would be a guy that if things just really go smoothly, that first trip, connecting with the family and everything, sounds like Novak and Cochran have been already kind of texting with him, trying to get him hyped for the visit. Perko, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he ends up as that third guy with the Badgers.
Yeah, there's some intentionality too of, right? I think Cochran was on that originally scheduled to be that first weekend. Hey, let's bump you back. Let's get you around some other offensive linemen. Let's get you and Novak together, be in Miller's ear all weekend. And it doesn't help to have Latimer up there as like, hey, I'm going to be the guy you're blocking for. I look pretty good. I mean, if you've seen, not to go back to Latimer, if you see him in person, I mean, he's a guy that you do a double take with. I mean, he's awfully impressive. So, yeah, I mean, it's intentional to get those guys up around each other. We'll see how this weekend goes, but yeah, I mean, everything that Nick kind of said about Miller, I definitely agree with. And then I just popped up, USC's got 27 commits right now. Not saying they can't get to 28, but they're at 27, and they have some big time targets that they're still after, or they're willing to go out and buy, I should say, maybe. Combination of the two things. That's not a shot at you, Max. I love you, but we'll see. I kind of tend to agree with that. Wisconsin, Auburn, we'll see where it lands there.
Well, with those academics, we'll see if he takes the Patrick Castle route and just ends up getting like a bunch of PhDs after he's done with football. He's an interesting one, but I'm also, though, very interested. I'm actually going to we got a bunch of questions from the boards that we're going to answer, but I'm going to throw one in right here really quickly. From Vandem94 asks, is there a position group you feel Wisconsin should be prioritizing more but hasn't yet? And to me, that's cornerback. Like, to me, that I think I talked about this last week. Like, I think you have to take you have to take 4 corners in this class. I really do. I think that they are still thin at corner. When you look at depth, you've got so many seniors on this roster. You're going to need to fill. You lost the entire 2023 cornerback class. All 6 of those dudes are gone. You have to get corners in this class. They've already got Carson Elam's. I really like Jamyan Theodore, though, out of Chattanooga. Baylor School is one of the top programs in the state of Tennessee, and he's a 3-year starter there, and he is an outstanding player. I personally love seeing Wisconsin going down into Tennessee. They got Baugh. They were on Owen Cabell, who's now blown up. Looks like he's going to end up at Alabama now, but, making these inroads in the state of Tennessee, which has amazing high school football. It might not be Georgia, Florida, or Texas, but it's in that next tier. Like, there is incredible football, high school football in the state of Tennessee. I know it. I've lived there for 8 years now, and that state lives and breathes high school football on Friday nights. So I love seeing, Wisconsin trying to get down into Tennessee a little bit more here, Nick. How, is this recruiting going with Theodore, and do you think he could potentially be on commit list this weekend? Because, that would make me very happy.
So, Pergo, that is a position. I agree. Numbers. You're hoping to get up a little bit. I will say just briefly, I'd be surprised if it's 4. I could maybe see 3. Obviously, they're looking to lock down a second right now. So, I'm sure John has spoke with Jamie, and man, amazing kid. I will say, I think he's the type of kid, Perko, that after about any visit, there's going to be a lot of positives. I do believe that, but he put out a top 5, I think, via our guy Tom Loy a few weeks back. To me, this is really a 3-team race right now. I think it's the in-state Volunteers, who made a big impression on an unofficial recently. I think Kentucky is actually in there with a decent shot. And then the Badgers. I mean, like I can truly say about the staff and recruiting department often, like they recruit, I think, sheerly recruiting, relationships, communications as well or better than anybody. And here there's a clear position of need. It is a spot where you can develop, you can show NFL development in the past, you can show guys like Nazir and Rico Holman. So all that to say, Perko, I personally would kind of handicap this as Badgers top 2 with Tennessee, but I would be surprised a little bit if he called things and didn't get back out there to Knoxville probably for an OB. John?
Yeah, I mean, he lets you sleep a lot easier at night if Wisconsin were to land him right. I mean, you have 2 there. Perko, I don't know if it gets up to 4, but 3 makes you feel good. If you were to get
Man can dream, can he? Can he dream and want 4?
I think ideal situation for Wisconsin is you get him, maybe go into the fall then and let Pat Lambert get down to Florida, try to find a sleeper there, try to find a 6'3" corner that maybe is a late bloomer that not a lot of kids know about or a lot of staffs know about. But Evan posted his story and I wrote right after he posted it, like, I think he's the most important guy you got coming up this weekend for a number of reasons that we talked about. So we'll see. I mean, I tend to agree with Nick of Wisconsin versus Tennessee. And like, look, Tennessee being the in-state school, if they turn up the heat on that last visit, I guess we'll have to see what happens. But Wisconsin's been there longer, right? And they've been there from really the jump with him. So we'll see. This OB is going to be huge. And like Nick said, I would imagine we'll hear a lot of positives, but if you're a Wisconsin staffer, a Wisconsin fan, that OV to Tennessee has to probably keep you up at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Those kids from Chattanooga, like they all end up at Georgia, Tennessee. So to pull him out of there would be something that would be really, really impressive for the staff. They do have another corner coming this weekend. I mentioned Chase Skeeter, out of the state of Virginia. Not as big of a national recruit though, Nick, but I think that he brings a lot to the table as well.
Yeah, so Perko, interesting. I mean, I will say recently he's become a pretty big national recruit because he's added Michigan, who, from my understanding, just checking in, like he's in the mix for an OB there. And Penn State, he's had an OB set for a while. They're in there. I checked in a little bit around the network, and they're kind of filling up at some spots because Perko, even though we've got him listed as a corner, which he certainly can play, he's getting looked at safety at Wisconsin, getting looked at safety with Penn State. So, I think that's really intriguing. And safety is another spot where, I just will mention briefly, we talked a bunch about Nick Reddish leading into last weekend, right? I think the staff made a huge jump with him. I like where they stand. So, I'm feeling good that they're going to land one of their top 2 or 3 guys. But Geeter and Taylor in town, if you're able to maybe lock one down or just make a huge impression on Taylor, I'm feeling good about that DB room. Because I know John and I talked a little bit off air just about this. Like, there's some versatility with a couple of these guys that if you just get them in the boat going forward, we kind of like this guy a little bit more slotted on the inside, or hey, maybe he's got better ball skills than we think. Like, you can kind of translate some things. But I don't know about you, John. I think the magic number for me, the magic number is 5 between safeties and corners in this class. If you're able to just get even 4, though, by September or so, I'm still feeling pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think maybe that's, if we're taking a different way to look at tight end, maybe it's more appropriate to take a different look at defensive back, too, of, hey, maybe let's just call all these guys D-backs, right? And obviously, some are better suited for corner, some are better suited for safety. But that nickel versatility of makes you feel a little bit better of that thin cornerback board. Maybe it's more appropriate to look at it like, hey, they're going to take 5 defensive backs. And a guy like Jeter, I mean, long way to go with him, right? Things are very new. But if you get him, or even a guy like Reddish, like, yeah, he's a safety. He could play some nickel. So
I see Reddish as a nickel, man. Like,
right.
I look at Reddish, I watch that tape, and I see a nickel back all day. Yeah, I can see him playing safety, but man, like to me, he is a prototype nickel.
I agree 100%. So, I mean, what if you called him a corner then, right? So does that make you feel better if is he your third corner?
Well, yeah, of course it makes me feel better, John. I've already said that like 18 times.
Okay, just making sure. So yeah, but there are not, when you are looking at that corner board, there's not a whole lot of guys you can point to because a lot of these guys that are tweeners, when you talk to them, Wisconsin likes them at safety. So we'll see. I mean, it feels like there's a long way to go, but it's going to come up in a short amount of time. I like the safeties, quote unquote, that they're bringing up there. I think Jack Cooper's done a really nice job of getting them involved with a handful of guys, and we'll see where those puzzle pieces kind of fit in the next couple of weeks here.
All right. Well, let's go to some questions from the board with a few minutes that we have remaining here. We have so many. Keep them coming. We're not going to get to all of them today, but we're just going to have you guys keep sending them in. We absolutely love it. There are way too many to choose from. We'll start with a couple recruiting questions from Paisan 69. What's the Badgers' plan at running back if Latimer doesn't commit? If he ends up at Georgia? If he ends up at one of these other big schools, Nick?
I'll defer to John on this one because Paisan came from your previous spot, right? Yeah, and I'm all about loyalty. So J-Mac, you take that one. I got next, Kirko.
We brought him over. No, that was one of the things I wrote about in our 3-2-1 feature of what do they do, right? But I think a lot of times, I mean, you could listen to me, you can listen to Nick, you could listen to Evan, you could read what we do, but I think it's more importantly the information that we provide. Watch what the staff's doing, right? They canceled that OV with Jamal Rule, and that had to be your big first sign of, hey, like something's brewing here, like something in the way of momentum is moving in Wisconsin's directions. I guess I'll just say real simply that spring showcase visit was huge, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. You can then follow the motion of the coaching staff. You know, Jamal Rule no longer visiting, Nelson Wheeler, who they had that for that third weekend, no longer visiting. Nick reports that Ryan Estrada not going to visit this weekend. So just follow that, and I think it'll take you to where you want to get. But look, they wouldn't have made those moves without feeling supremely confident about where they stood with Amari Latimer. Maybe you'd still like to have a plan B out there. If you're Wisconsin, you're trusting the process, right? But that's a really good question because I wrote about that a couple days ago.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next question here. This one's for you, Nick. Which commits do you see getting their biggest ratings boost their senior season? We've already talked about Latimer. Who else do you see from this class getting a ratings boost here in the senior season? Thanks for the question, Klusman.
Oh, Klusman, awesome. He's awesome on our boards, guys. Really good question. You know, I think with the guys so far, I mean, I'll name a couple if that's okay. I think that an easy one to go to right away is quarterback Ryan Hopkins. I mean, throwing to 2 5-stars. I'm sorry, a 5-star wideout, a 5-star tight end, and a 4-star at modern day. Like, he's gonna put up numbers, and we know his athletic ability, and we know his potential. So I think he'd be an easier pick for me. Honestly, I think a guy like Tayshaun Bardo, you know, just with the complete nature of his game, I think that he really has the potential to jump up a little bit. I don't know quite how high, but I just watched some of his tape or just some of the workouts that he puts out or his great trainer, you know, Coach Mills. Like, he looks like a dude that I'm just trying to go quickly. DJ Bot. You know, I'm glad you like that, Perko. Like, he's one of those guys, and I'm not blaming. I mean, I truly believe our ratings team is amazing, and sometimes they take their time because they want the final ratings to be accurate. You know, I feel like he's somebody that the offers are ahead of the ratings right now. And so I think once he puts out some good senior tape, again, great program, those would probably be my big three. I don't want to name everybody because that's not, you know, necessarily sincere. But I will say one of my guys, Jack Sievers, was a 4-star composite at one point. Wouldn't be shocked at all if he gets back up there.
I was going to say DJ Bob, but the other guy, to me, he's not a Badger, but he came last weekend, and it's Kamari Blair. I could see him getting a big bump in his senior season.
Perko likes his Tennessee guys, right, Matt?
Hey, man, listen, I got to cape up from my adopted home state, so
Awesome. And
it's what I'm here for.
Amazing. Really awesome kid. And the Badgers crushed that one, too. I mean, I know John and I are saying, like, we'll see who the third is, but I think it's probably going to be a pretty dang good option at this point.
All right, John, from Stephen Lee, of the current commits, who will have to work the hardest to hold on to? So, you know, of the guys there, I mean, I think there's one name that's going to pop that Nick already mentioned, Ryan Hopkins. If he blows up this fall, I mean, you're going to see every program in the country come for him. But John, who else?
Yeah, I mean, Hopkins would be the one that comes to mind right away. You know, all these guys, right? I mean, this is recruiting like it has been for forever, but it's also recruiting where there's dollars involved now, right? So, like Carmelo Reed, we didn't know you that long, you know, that flips quick. So I don't want to say, yeah, this one guy is really who I'm looking at. I think that Hopkins is likely, you know, in that boat, right? But there's a number of guys that you could, make a case for, because it's just kind of a new age of recruiting where we're at right now. So it's tough to say. It's, I take a look at all of them, and Wisconsin's going to have to continue to recruit, just like every other school in the country.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah, I think so as well. I could see some of those Indiana guys. You mentioned Bardo. I could see him being someone who, like you said, takes off a senior season, garners some late offers. Maybe it's something like an Ohio State or something like that if they're still looking to add a receiver. One more recruiting question. I thought this was a really interesting one from PDC Balla. If you could pick one guy that OV'd over the past 12 and a half months, that either picked UW or hasn't committed anywhere yet, and have UW win that battle, who would it be? So which guy who came on an official that didn't end up at UW do you wish landed at UW? I'll go first. I'll say Byron Lewis, tailback from last year. I just think that, they ended up with 0 tailbacks in that class. He was one of the best tailbacks in the country, and I think he would have done really, really well either in that Longo system, but I think especially in the grind system, he would be a fantastic back. John, what about you?
Is this just last cycle or like forever?
25.
I think just the last
25, 26, 25 and 26.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough not to say Byron Lewis, right? I mean, they essentially kind of cleared their board out. I mean, there are some guys that they could have taken in that class without a doubt, and they kind of made the decision of, Byron Lewis or bust. Tough one to kind of count on the other end of, but when you took 3 in the previous cycle, they were kind of in a luxury spot there. So my mind was kind of racing all through past cycles, so I can't name those names, but I'll go with Byron Lewis too. Perk, I'll take the easy way out.
I got a fresh one if I can add it, Perk. Actually, I believe they're teammates now. Yeah, if I remember it correctly, because they were both late flips. Jaden Woods, kind of outside linebacker edge from last year, who I always felt. I mean, Matt Mitchell's a phenomenal recruiter. I do want to say that. I mean, some of the guys that Wisconsin's gotten or in the mix for wouldn't always happen. So I think that I'd probably pick him. I believe they're both Gators now. He and Byron Lewis. Woods had flipped from Penn State, but just feel like he'd be kind of similar in like the Nicholas Clayton mold. Just impressive pass rusher. But I mean, hey, it was hard for me guys to pick one because the staff is closed on, so many dang Plan A targets when they get here in June, this beautiful city. So good question though. PD is somebody you guys will like to.
Definitely. Yeah. A lot of great questions there from the board. I'm going to go with one, little not off the wall, but we're going to go predicting for this season. What's going to be higher? Darian Dupree yards from scrimmage, receiving and rushing, or Vinny Anthony total receiving yards?
Oh, who's going first? John, you give me a pick?
Give me Darian just because of the versatility there. I think that they're going to find ways to use him. Dylan Jones, deservedly so, was kind of the talk of that position in the spring. Obviously, Darian was a little nicked up. They expect him, I think, to be good to go this summer and into the fall. But I mean, there's a reason why he plays as a true freshman. I think his ability is sky high. I like what he brings to the table. That's not a knock on Vinny Anthony. I think he'll be wide receiver 1 from the jump, just like he was in the spring. But give me Darian Dupree just because I can get a lot of different ways.
I'm gonna go and partially maybe to be different, but it is what I was thinking. I'm gonna go Vinny because so many of his plays, guys, are off of like potential deep shots. I think that there will be a good connecting piece there with Edwards Jr. And, Dupree, Mac, I could definitely see that. I think he's going to be awesome. But there are like low-key, if you wanted to, a lot of mouths to feed in that backfield. I'm of the mindset you can trust all 4 Scully guys back there. I really am. Obviously, I think Jones, Dupree will get a lot of the attention, but like Yakimel's going to get some touches too. And I think deservedly so. So we will see. Good question.
Very good question. I'm going to break the tie and I'm going to side with Nick. I think Vinny Anthony, my bold prediction for the year is Vinny Anthony is the first 1,000-yard receiver for Wisconsin since Jared Aberdarius. So Bernie and I had him on the podcast earlier this spring, and he is confident, but he's confident, but not cocky.
How awesome to see, man. Such a great
dude. Oh my God, what a great kid. What a great kid. So, almost, I'm just putting him on par with you guys. 2 great guys here. Vinny Anthony is a great guy. We're loving what we're doing here at the Badger 247 show. We thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure, if you are not subscribed already to Badger 247, you are using that promo code John Gets You 75. It's in the description here for the episode. Sign up for Badger 247. Get on the boards. Get talking with us. We're always around. We appreciate everyone tuning in here to the Badger 247 show. So on behalf of John McNamara and Nick Osen, I'm Matt Perkins, and we'll see you next time.